Hi, everyone. It's Heather with Magnificent Mamas and Magnificent Authors podcast. We're joined here today with author Kenyon Strother. Did I say that right? Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name is Kenyon Strother. I am an author of young adult fantasy novellas right now. I have my first book, Threads of Power: The Awakening, that's out now. It is the first book in a trilogy, the Threads of Power trilogy. The second book is done. It's getting released in the beginning of August, and I just finished my first draft of the final book this past week. I am a dad. I live in Columbia, South Carolina. Very involved in geeky things, anime, comics, cartoons, anything. I'm an 80s baby, so anything along those lines.
What's your favorite anime?
Right now, I'm watching One Piece, and I just started a couple weeks ago, and it's great.
Yeah, my husband and my daughter love anime. They were watching Inuyasha. There's been so many things that they've watched, I can't even remember.
I'm wearing my Demon Slayer shirt right now, so
Nice.
that's one of my favorites.
My daughter would be jealous. I know she's watched that and she likes that. There's another one, like Spy Family. Have you ever seen that?
Mm-hmm. I've seen a couple episodes. That's pretty good.
I was watching it with her. I was like, this is actually kind of entertaining. So, do you want to go ahead and tell me a little bit about your book, a little more?
Yeah, so my first book, Threads of Power: The Awakening. It's this started as a journey. I've been working on my DNA and my family tree for about 15, 16 years. Have taken some other DNA tests, finally took an ancestry one that I got for Christmas. And I'd already made it pretty far back in my family tree, but that just put me all the way back to like 0 AD. And then I started tracing all the way back past the autosomal DNA. And then I got to the mythological family tree, which is how this book came about. Found out mythologically that I'm related. I'm a descendant of Uranus. My DNA has some ties to Nigeria and the Yoruba tribe there, which is where one of the characters, Oduduwa, in the book comes from. The main character named Kenyon, who's 17, finds out that he has these ancestral ties, finds an artifact in this attic of his grandma's house, gets these powers. His friends there, Damien, finds out about this woman that's trying to basically rip apart history and myth and kind of separate that from history, and collects some more friends along the way and tries to stop her.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And I love ancestry. I've been doing mine 2004, so I totally love. I've never done the DNA thing, though, so I've always found that really interesting how that works.
It's great. And thankfully, I'm luckier than a lot of people. I'm very passionate about it. I'll get off work and I would stay up all night doing the family tree. I just looked out that a lot of my people have a lot of documents that are able to be traced back. My fiance, I've gotten her back, I think her family back to the 1500s. So I'm working on hers as well. So
nice. Yeah, it can be a challenge for sure. Finding, you can find out like some lines, like say your great grandfather's side, say you can find out all the way back to like the 1500s, but then you have like a grandparent or great grandparent, you can't find anything past that.
Yep, that is exactly how it is on my tree too. I have one side that I maybe have 4 generations, and then the other side I'm all the way back. So
oh yeah.
And this started, I wanted to originally write like a, I guess, biography, historical type book about my family tree, but because of how my brain works and the media I consume with anime and fantasy shows and things like that, it evolved into this. And once I saw where this was going, I just fell in love and just kept going. Awesome. I actually outlined it as one book, but it was so big, I thought big. I broke it up into 3. And still, I like that it's a nice short read. It's very refreshing. It gets you excited and ready to move on to the next.
That's awesome. And you said the next one comes out in August?
Yes.
Nice. Congrats. I definitely feel the appeal to your book just because I love history, mythology, ancestry, genealogy, that type of thing. And
yeah, I think what I found when I was writing this was there aren't a lot of books that have the genealogy aspect. Like they might touch on it, but they don't delve all the way back. Like in the book, I talk about how I traced it back to Nigeria and the process of doing the research into DNA and family tree. And that's where a lot of this comes from. And it always touches back on ancestry, on family, not just with Kenyon, the main character, but with all the characters as well.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Like I'm definitely I probably say this more than people would think, but I definitely need to check out your book just because I feel like we have similar interests.
Yes, it sounds like it. I do all the cover art myself. I designed this myself, or that's the subject of the book where the power comes from. And also on my webpage that I have for the book, I do all the character art as well. So
okay, so you have character art set up for each character then?
yes.
people can go and see what they look like.
Absolutely. The bad guy as well. You can see her, a shot of her with her powers in use and kind of get a mental picture as you're going along with the story.
Nice. Yeah, I think that I write sci-fi fantasy, and I tend to sometimes, like, I'll see a picture or something and I'll be like, oh, you know what? That person would be great as, whatever. And like, I feel like I can start picturing everything about the person just by looking at their picture. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if a lot of people do that or if it's just me being weird.
I think that's one of the great things about books versus TV and things like that. Like, I love movies. For perfect example is Game of Thrones. I love Game of Thrones, the TV show, diehard fan. But I also read the books after I started the show, and the books were way more vivid. I mean, the way George R.R. writes, but still leaves room for your imagination to come in and create these images in your mind is great.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know if I was just in a slump when I tried to read it, but I couldn't get into it. And I like the show and I love to read. So I'm guessing it was just like a slump and maybe come back to it. But I haven't read the books, which is sad to say.
I think it's kind of like the first season where they take so much to build up the people, the places, and to have that so you can, as the story goes on, you can refer back to it, because later in the book it kind of jumps around everywhere, and if you don't have the knowledge already of those characters in George R.R.'s books, then it's hard to keep up.
Yeah,
but that's a great thing about like a book like mine, being so short. It's only 58 pages, and you get to know the characters right off the bat. You get to know about where Kenyon is from. The name of the town he's from is Omri, Omri, which is my hometown spelled backwards. My hometown is Irmo, Irmo. So it was a little way to throw some homage in there.
It's awesome.
To that. So you get to learn about the characters right off the bat. They're all teenagers, so they're easy for everyone to identify with. So
yeah, definitely. And so you'd say teenagers, young adults.
Absolutely.
Anyone.
Yep. Young. It's like a YA fantasy novella, but anybody can read it. I mean, I think there's one occurrence of damn in there, I think. So it's not like it's an expletive-filled book. I think it's very descriptive, and I've gotten some really good reviews on it on Amazon and some pretty good comments about the writing and the imagery. So
awesome. When you say that, like, there's historical facts and mythology facts in there,
I only really focus on this one on Uranus, the Roman god Uranus, and Oduduwa, only because when I started this, there were so many ancestors I could choose from, and I had like 5, and I was like, this is just too wild. I need to narrow this down and focus this in. So I just touch on it a little bit, talk about what they're written about, control of elements, whereas Uranus was the primordial god of the sky. Oduduwa, it's written that he kind of had a battle when he was creating the earth and had some earth and kind of fire powers, which is where those come from for Kenyon. It's not like a history book. I wouldn't say you could read this
but like
anything, but yeah, absolutely. It has some definitely historical connotations in there.
I think sometimes, so I homeschool my daughter, she's 15. And I think when you're learning certain things, or you just want to introduce a topic, so to speak, like introduce mythologies, things like that, I think sometimes having books, whether they're true or,
No, absolutely.
Whatnot, nice little teaser to it to get some interest going.
Well, and I know, like, I realize that Ancestry.com doesn't need any help, like getting people to sign up. But I think this is a good way to get people interested in their own genealogy. Because when I talk to people, they're always like, oh, I'm interested in that, but I've never thought about actually doing it. And I tell people, look, it's free. You can go anywhere and start a family tree. You can, start talking to your relatives and start gathering information. And it's just fun the stories you learn along the way that you might not have ever heard had you not started down this path.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I bet you've heard all sorts of stories.
I have. And just reading some of the documents, like World War II documents and old marriage records from like the 1500s and things like that. And it's crazy to know that you're actually connected to people that lived in, you know what I mean? So
I agree completely. It's a wild to think about, like, to see the pictures and know that you're descended from them.
My 8-year-old daughter laughs because Queen Elizabeth II, who passed, was my 10th cousin, I think, twice removed. So she always was like, is Queen Elizabeth my cousin? So I think it's a great way for anybody of any age to get in at least interested in genealogy and wanted to. And then the representation part of that, with Kenyon being a person of color, that a main character in a fantasy novella, which we don't have a lot of, is another reason. I think that'll kind of hopefully pull some readers in and get them interested.
Definitely. And I think that's awesome. I fully support, diversity in
Mhm.
any way, shape, or form. And I think we need to, positively get that out there because I feel like there can be a lot of negativity. And
Yes, absolutely.
I try to be positive. So I think, I think it's awesome.
That's my disposition all the time. I think there's always a reason to smile. There's always something. I have a 1 year old that helps because
Aw.
he's always running around. But I always try to find the joy in the day and try to share that with somebody else. And writing gives me a lot of joy. This has been a great experience writing this first book and now moving on to the other ones and just expanding my capabilities and talking to other people about it and things like that. So it's been a great experience.
Have you ran into like writer's block or anything?
So thankfully, I think because I'd already done so much genealogical research and I watch a lot of anime, like I said, and cartoons and stuff like that, it was easy for me to plan it out. I wrote this big long outline, and then broke that down into the 3 book, and then acts and then chapters. And then I ended up writing all those together. I broke the acts down because my acts were very short. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make these chapters. So that's how it ended up so short.
Nice.
But I haven't had to experience that yet because I'm so passionate about the series and the characters. And each one of the characters is like a different aspect of my personality. So it's been fun. My biggest problem is once, I'm so passionate writing the first draft. And then when I start reading it, I'm like, ooh, this needs some work. So just the passion of banging out the first draft and then coming back, I'm like, you know what? Let's refine this a little. So.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely could not be an outliner when it comes to writing. I'm always curious what authors, if they're outliners or pantsers, as they call it. Like, I just sit down and write. I couldn't imagine trying to follow an outline. I don't think it would go very well at all.
I like lists in life. I'm a post-it note guy. So it was the only way I could get it done. And that's weird because I'm spontaneous in a lot of things, but this I was like, I have to write this down and plan this out. So
I get the list thing for sure.
yeah.
I don't know. There's something about when I'm writing that I just can't do the list, I guess.
Well, and I think that kind of happened with me with starting out as like historical book and evolving into a fantasy novella. It kind of, I got on that path and then I just couldn't fight it. I just had to go where the wave was taking me. So
Yeah. If you had to write a genre different than what you've already written in, what would it be?
sci-fi, absolutely.
Sci-fi for the win.
Star Wars, Star Trek,
Star
Battlestar
Wars.
Galactica, Foundation. I love sci-fi.
Star Wars is my favorite movie. My dog's name is Vader.
Oh, nice.
So it's awesome. I love Star Wars. I'm a total
Yeah,
nerd. So
yeah, me too. Me too. Then that's probably why we get along so well. Yeah, anything Star Wars. I'm not a fan of the sequel trilogy, but after that,
read the
we
books.
no, I have not. So I was gonna read the Thrawn books, but then Ahsoka came out, and I was like, oh, okay, well now I can pause on that for now.
Yeah. Well, so I like the older books, like the legends and stuff.
Yeah.
I grew up reading those. And so there's characters in there that they always made it the impression that they were going to be in movies 7, 8, and 9. So like Luke and Leia's kids, Luke's kids, and Leia's kids, if that makes sense. Not Luke and Leia.
No, I understand. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're my cousins.
Yeah. But so when they made 7, 8, and 9 and they didn't have them in there, it was like, oh, you're messing it up so much.
Yeah. I did play Knights of the Old Republic when I was in middle school or high school, so I'm still waiting on them to do that justice. But I think we have an Old Republic show coming. So
yeah, that's what I heard. You mentioned you like Star Trek too. Everyone says you can't like both.
Oh, you can absolutely. I love both. I love Next Generation. I grew up on it. I love Picard, the TV series. I even love Discovery. A lot of people might get upset with me for that. I love Discovery. The only one I haven't seen is Strange New Worlds, which I hear is super great.
Yeah.
But that's the only one I haven't seen yet just because I'm watching so many other things. So
there's a bunch of Star Trek on a streaming platform and I cannot remember which one.
Oh, it's on Paramount Plus. It's on Paramount.
Yeah, probably.
They have Lower Decks is great. I love Lower Decks. I think everyone should watch Lower Decks. It's a great cartoon. Fills in a lot of gaps in the Star Trek universe.
I just love the creativity between both the Star Wars and Star Trek. All the world building, the character development, like it's insane.
Yeah, and the fact that both of those series are so beloved, and there's so much diversity in both of those universes. So there's always been representation on Star Trek since the beginning. There's always been representation in Star Wars from the beginning, which is great. And hopefully I can, in a small way, carry on that tradition with this book and the series. So
Nice. That's awesome. So do you have any formal background in writing or just...
I don't. I was terrible at English in high school. I was okay at it in college. I have a degree in IT and information assurance and cybersecurity. I also am a paralegal, so I am used to doing writing, like legal writing and things like that. I worked in immigration for a good while, so a lot of document reading, a lot of document scanning, a lot of document writing, but not creatively, not since like my early years, elementary, middle school. I am a musician as well. I'm a drummer, or I used to be a drummer. So the creativity is always there. It kind of evolves. When I was younger, it was writing. Then it was music. Now I do graphic design and writing again. It just all kind of comes full circle. So
I think that's the creativeness. Like the writers, there's always something else that you're interested in. Like I like painting and mixed media art, stuff like that. You know, a lot of writers I talk to are musicians. There's always another creative outlet that it seems like writers have.
That's good. That's good. We're a special club that anyone can join.
And apparently during COVID, everybody decided to join the club.
Yeah, I guess I missed that wave. I'm on the post-COVID author wave. So
I don't know. I was talking about it in another interview, and they were like, well, once COVID hit, everyone wanted to become a writer.
Yeah, there's a ton of books out there. Like right now, there's a ton of books. I don't check it all the time, but every blue moon I check my I guess my ranking on Amazon, and I'm like, ooh, okay, so we're in the 10,000s now. We're trying to get up to the...
Wouldn't want to check it like on a daily basis.
Oh no, that could be disheartening. But I take solace in, I was happy when I told my fiance when I wrote this, I was like, if only the people in this house read this, I'll be fine. Me being able to see this in my brain, write it, and then now see it again is very, like, it's just such a warm feeling, and it feels like I'm spreading, it's telling the story of my family and trying to prompt other people to learn their family stories and tell their stories as well.
I love how when you go to Amazon and you see your name on there by your book, and it's like an amazing feeling.
Yes, it's great. It is great.
Like, it's even great. If nobody reads it, hey, look, my name is right there. My book is right there.
Yep. You could type my name into Amazon and I pop up. That's great.
Yeah. Do you feel like getting your book out there has been a challenge at all, or do you think it's been pretty easy?
Definitely. I think I thought publishing would be the hardest part, because I was like, and I wasn't really on social media at the time I wrote this. I was only on like LinkedIn, but then I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to get on Facebook. I have to get on Instagram. I'm on this writer's app called Scribble. I'm like, because I have to find ways to get this book out there, which I don't mind doing. I love talking to people. I was a recruiter for a while, so I'm used to even doing but just getting it out there, because the market is so big and there are a lot of voices that are trying to be heard, which is great. But you also just kind of want, I'm glad everyone's talking, but here's mine right here. So that has been a challenge with the promotion and marketing. And then all the spammers. I didn't realize when you become an author that like these spammers on these social media platforms that are posing as marketers or editors or anything like that. I didn't realize it was so bad. So that has been a challenge.
Well, the real author was from the UK. Let me start it off like that. I talked to this person trying to get me to contact somebody about promotion and marketing. Keep in mind, that's what I do, promotion and marketing for authors. Okay. Well, this person, I was listening to their speech patterns. It was kind of weird. And I was like, I'm going to ask where they live. And they said, in the USA. I was like, oh yeah, me too. Where at? And they said, in Manchester. And I was like, they said the state Manchester. I said, Manchester's not a state in the USA. Yes, it is. I live there. No, you don't.
No.
So I contacted the real author, and she responded back right away, and she was aware that there had previously been somebody posing as her, but she was so thankful, and that I reached out to her just to let her know. And it's so crazy to think of, like, there's so many scammers, but then there's also real people that are trying to help authors. And so fake, or you're not a real person, but okay,
I think,
come look at my podcast.
I think if people just do their due diligence, like all it takes for me to see that on like a Facebook profile when somebody sends me a message, I just scroll down. Usually, for example, it's a picture of a younger woman as a profile picture. I scroll down like 5 posts, and then there's like a guy guy, and then the rest of the pictures are this guy in like South Sudan or something. Like I think if people would just do the due diligence just a little bit, it would weed out a lot of that. And then you just have to talk to people like we reach out to each other and just have the conversation. And sometimes you're gonna have to take the risk. When I was a recruiter, and I would be corresponding with a candidate via email until I got them on camera. I didn't know who they were. And even then, I would have to ask them certain questions to see if they were really the person I have been talking to this whole time, or if they were acting for someone else, which did happen in recruiting. There would be times where I'd be talking to a candidate and I could see someone off camera giving them answers, or I could see them Googling the answers to my questions. So I think if people just take a couple more steps, it'll be a lot easier to tell who's real and who's fake, because there are real people out there that are willing to help.
See, that's one thing. Like, I offer, free book promotions so people can see that I'm real and that, I'm here to help, and that I'm not one of these scammers out there, And
check out Heather. She's real.
thing. Yeah. It's so sad because nobody deserves that. And
exactly.
All these scammers need to go down the road.
Yeah, and just do something else. Find their own way to be creative.
Yeah, because they're not being creative and they need a real job.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, just tell them, just go write a book. Just write a book. It's free to write a book. Anyone can pick up a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper and start writing. And I get a lot of joy from it. I'm glad that I appreciate you and for me to get the word out there about my book. This has been great.
Definitely. Do you have any tips for aspiring writers or authors?
Yeah, I would say just for me, talking to the people around you once you got started helps. I stay up at night and write while everybody's in bed, but a lot of times you can get to a spot where you're in a groove and you don't want to neglect the people around you. I think that's a good thing. I think also just actually doing the action of starting to write. A lot of authors I've talked to said it took them so long to actually get started. Like, they had the idea, some of them even had the outline, but they hadn't actually started writing. So I think just start writing and just see where it goes. You can always erase, you can always backspace. I think actually just getting started and taking that first step on this amazing journey is key.
I agree. I think I've been telling myself the past couple days, I'm going to work on one of my stories, and then it's like I sit down and I think I've got writer's block. So
you got to do something else and come back. Sometimes you have to take a break, but I think as long as you get back to it, it all work out.
I love my series and stuff like that, so it all ties in, but can be read as like standalones.
Yes,
that makes sense. So it's not like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's definitely, I love my characters and I love my worlds and stuff like that. So
yeah, I have your stuff bookmarked, and I'm checking it out as soon as I get off here.
Well, I have much more on my computer saved that I haven't put on Kindle yet, or on Vella, whatever you want to call it. But I've actually been trying to find some beta readers to read stuff before I put it up too. Awesome. But I just haven't had much luck on that end. I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm down to read. Absolutely. I've definitely been asking people to do the same for me. So absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's so important. I talked to an author and he launched his book in January, and I don't remember if he was self-published or not, but he, immediately thought he was going to become rich and whatnot. He didn't know about beta readers and ARC readers. He didn't know he needed to market and promote his book and himself, really. And it just
exactly.
broke my heart. It sucked so bad.
And that's what I mentioned earlier. Like, you're essentially turning yourself also into a commodity. You have to brand yourself. I made a little on my landing page. I had to create a logo because I was like, I don't always want to put my face out there. So I have a logo that's also associated with me and my book. So as the books grow, the page will grow, and hopefully the fan base will grow as well.
And it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And
Absolutely.
If it does, then that's kind of not organic.
And some people don't even hit it out of the park on their first book. Sometimes it takes that second book for people to be like, oh wow, this is great, let me go back and read the other one. So yeah, there's always a way. Just optimism. I'm a big optimist. I always have been. So I think it plays in hugely to the fact that I try to promote this. And look, it might not be it for everybody. I understand that, but it's a short read. Give it a chance. Like it's a drive down the street. It's a road trip 2 hours out of town.
I agree completely. I am going to have to wrap up, but I do thank you so much for coming on here and talking to me about your book. And like I said, I'm going to check it out for sure. And I hope everyone else does too. Yes.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Threads of Power, The Awakening. Yeah, it's on Amazon, paperback. Kindle Vella Unlimited, the audiobook I'm still approving. So I'll probably finish listening to that this weekend. And then the audiobook will be available as well.
That's awesome. My daughter loves audiobooks.
Okay, Heather, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And everybody, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment.